Here's another story. Seattle Comedy Club cancels 4 comedians for progressive values.
Oh, that's like a couple months old.
No, this happened recently.
It was like 2 weeks,
Okay,
3 weeks, but
We know the comedians.
We know Kurt Metzger and Jim and Lewis is crazy.
Dave Smith.
Dave Smith too?
The owners went on the Cellar Pod.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I listened. Did you listen?
I haven't listened.
It's a good listen because Noam really, he's such a smart guy, the owner of the Comedy Cellar, and he made some great points. They admitted they wouldn't have Richard Pryor. So he's like, by your guidelines, you wouldn't be allowed to have Richard Pryor. And they were like, yeah, I guess we wouldn't have Pryor.
But what are the guidelines?
No hate, no sexism, no slurs.
They would book Cosby, weirdly.
Yeah, that's true. They would.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah, but how is that going to be funny? That place is going to go out of business.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe.
Yeah,
but it's weird because last time I was in Seattle, man, I had a great fucking time. The crowd was amazing.
But
It's
it's almost as if these people think that that they can control who like there's everyone wants to do their club and they're just excluding these 4 people. But I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, I'll never.
No.
But I think they're like a wokey club. That's like their thing.
Yeah.
They're like, we're the whatever.
Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even the woke audiences don't want that.
But it's the audience that push back, I think. Because these guys, I listen to the pod. They're new. They're like, we don't know what we're doing. We didn't even know who Kurt Metzger was. I saw he was on Chelsea Lately, so I booked him. You're like, oh, wow, you are clueless. But then all the community piped up and then said, you shouldn't have these people. And then Noam's great point was, those people aren't going to go see Dave Smith anyway. So now you're booking based on people who won't even be at that show.
Right.
They're not going to be in the room. And they're dictating how you book it. They're not even going anyway.
Exactly.
And look, if you run a business, this is your right, but it's also everyone's right to be like, you're fucking idiots. This is a terrible way to run a business.
Yeah.
Especially for comedy where different voices, like book them and then book some fucking woke person you like too.
Diversity.
But I also think if you're not in that world of pushback, the first time you get it, it's jarring. So if you're just running a club and you book the people and all of a sudden you go, bring in Louis J. Gomez. He's funny. He seems nice. And then all of a sudden 15 people email and go, he's a Nazi. You go, oh, geez, I don't want a Nazi. Get out of here.
Right.
Because they're not used to. I remember I was at, what's the place that was big? It's still there in Brooklyn on the rooftop.
Oh,
Tiny Cupboard. We went there. So Tiny Cupboard is a room here in New York, in Brooklyn.
Still going.
During the pandemic, that fucking, it was kind of a beautiful view with that train right there.
Yeah.
Not good for the show.
Nah, killed your punchline.
Well, it became this big space because it was outdoors, and it's Brooklyn, so it's kind of and I don't want to fucking sound whatever. It's like a wokey room, whatever term that doesn't make me sound like an asshole, but it's hipstery people, and then they booked Aaron Berg, and Gino Bisconti.
Right.
And Sarah was on the show, and Sarah's like, I'm doing a show. The lineup's crazy. Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconti. And I was like, Gino Bisconti in Bushwick. Let me get my bag and back up. And I was like, I got to see this. Gino, if you don't know, Gino is extremely irreverent,
Yes.
let's say.
Okay. Yes.
And as is Aaron, but Gino's like Aaron times 50.
Yeah. Which is hard to do.
So I went and I was in the back of the room, and when it's time for Gino to go on, I literally snuck up into the middle, put on a fake mustache and a wig, and sat third row. And 30 seconds in, people were like, "What's this?" And because he says the F word, the gay F word, and he says black this, Jew this, and I mean, it just turned into like, what the fuck? And people screaming and yelling. And then we were with the owners.
Fight broke out.
Yeah.
And they were like, look at this email. We got to shut down. And they were like shaking, like, we'll never have him back. Oh my God. And I was trying to explain, like, definitely don't have him back because he doesn't fit here. But also, this person that wrote this email is also a lunatic. Don't worry about them. They wrote an email this long within 30 seconds.
Right.
We're going to call the Better Business Bureau and the police and burn your place down.
So it was a mass shooting at the fucking...
Yeah.
Well, you're like, okay, so don't have Gino again. You learned your lesson, but also don't let these people are crazy people.
Yeah.
They just heard a comic they didn't like. That's all.
But you're right. They get all nervous and they freak out.
Well, they think, oh my God, now I'm going to be a Nazi, because that's the society we're living in now. Adjacent to Nazi is Nazi.
But
even though you were just walking by a Nazi rally and you're like, I didn't know they were going to be here.
But here's the twist. Now this club is getting death threats. We're going to murder you, Sig Heil. They're saying all this crazy shit on voicemail and all that. So they think, oh, we did the right thing.
Yeah.
But both sides will attack you.
Either that or like, we should have booked a Nazi.
Yeah.
Right.
They sell. They have a draw. 6 million people.
I love that they think like there's a Puerto Rican Nazi.
Yeah.
Or Jew. Dave Smith Jew.
But imagine getting booked there and like, and you're not famous enough for someone to complain ahead of time, but you're walking on eggshells while you're on stage, or there's some fucking super empowered weirdo that's recording what you're saying.
Yeah, that's no good.
It's just anti-comedy. The whole thing's anti-comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I see it is if, like, you don't like it, don't go. Like, if you don't like The Sopranos, don't watch it. Don't go on every podcast and say you don't like The Sopranos.
I never bring it up. Even right now, you're bringing it up.
I'm just joking.
What these crazy
I'm just busting balls,
people
Joe.
go through.
You gave him the Italian point on that, too.
Enough of this Asian Nazi. This guy's incredible. Dude, it really is. I mean, we've all heard stories on the road where you're like, oh, this guy did this last week. And you're like, okay, well, that's rare when a guy does something insane usually at a club. When you buy a ticket to someone you don't know, you are taking a chance, but you might be finding someone you love also.
Yeah.
You might be finding someone who fucking
Yes.
does something insane.
You got to be pretty terrible for the staff to talk shit about you to the next guy.
Yeah.
You know Louis C.K.'s story at the Comedy Cafe in Milwaukee? You ever hear him tell that story?
I haven't.
He's doing this is
I
whatever.
played that room though, of course.
Yeah, me too. Best condo ever. So this is like
It was a nice condo.
This is like 30 years ago, or whatever it was, 25 years ago, I guess. And Louis was there. It was before Louis blew up, but he was starting to sell some tickets, but hadn't blown up yet, and the room's half full. And the guy saw this family coming in that comes often, and they're always there. And they're like, with their grandparents and their 18-year-old kid, and they're like dressed and like, oh, we're going to go see some comedy. And they said, did you look up who you're seeing? Do you know anything about them? They're like, no, we just love comedy. Every time we come, we see a good show. And the guy was like, don't come.
Really?
He's like, we got a restaurant upstairs. I'm going to give you your money back for this. I'm going to get dinner on me, and I'll give you free tickets for this show. We got, I don't know who, fucking Brian Regan coming.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have a good time. You're not going to love it. Go have dinner on me, and we'll come back next weekend. We got whoever coming in. And they were like, oh, okay.
That's a good owner.
And because the owner saw, he's like, you're not going to like this.
Yeah.
I know you guys. I know my audience. I know who you are. And this guy's going to talk about jerking off in his kid's face or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And just don't come in here, because then I'm going to lose fans. I'm going to lose paying audience for the rest of my life, because they're going to go, we'll never come back here again.
One of the best ones I heard was Appleton, Wisconsin. Doug Stanhope and all his openers are just shit-faced and doesn't connect with the crowd, whatever. Some woman runs up to him furious, like fuck that guy. He was drunk. We deserve a refund. Like, he was terrible. And he went up to her, he overheard her, and he goes, they make us drink here. They force us all to drink. And she believed him. She was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know they treated you that way.
That's hilarious.
Great out. It's funny, too, like, there's all this Nazi. These comics are Nazis. This is the only time in history where Nazi has been subjective. It used to just be kind of like, these are Nazis. It was a very specific group. Now Nazi is like, this Jew who says retard is a Nazi.
Now it's a guy who doesn't thread the needle well enough on a punchline. It's like...
Now we need like a Nazi breathalyzer.
Yeah.
He blew a 2-point.
Yeah, sounds like sauerkraut.